This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with Ready to Fight, Forged Irish Stout and Empire Fight Store. Delighted to be joined here, as always. We've recently, maybe it's January, everyone's discombobulated, but the Mondays have turned to Tuesdays. But we're still here, we're in touch. Both of us been sort of not 100% with it, but we're okay now. We've reconvened. How are you, sir?
Speak for yourself. Are you flying all over Europe, chasing the new love of your life, Ed Sheeran?
My old
I'm
mate.
very well. I'm very well, though. Thank you.
What's we're liking the look today, Gad? What are these blue shades, by the way? Is that more just like a screen thing?
No, they're glasses.
Oh,
They're not shades. They're glasses.
is that for the screen?
Yeah, for screen. I've worn blue glasses for a very long time. It's not going to be This isn't going to be an interview about my blue glasses.
Mate,
It's too old for that.
we always talk about all sorts of madness.
There's no madness of my blue glasses. I'm seeing through blue tinted glasses, and it's all just peace and love through these glasses until the fight breaks out.
Well, let's go into the fight. A bit of controversy surrounding Saturday night's affairs. Natasha Jonas split decision over Mikaela Mayer. Mayer's first fight up at welterweight. Oh, God, there's always controversy in boxing, right? Obviously, this time round. What was your initial reaction, Gareth?
I scored it a draw,
Okay.
95-95. The rounds that Mikaela Mayer won, I thought she won clearly. And there were several rounds in there, maybe four rounds in there that were very, very close. And I think I gave three of those to Natasha. I gave the middle rounds for me were owned by Mikaela Mayer, and they were the clearest for me to score. I thought Natasha came back strong at the end, even though on the eye test Mikaela Mayer won the fight. I wasn't able to. I wouldn't say I'd be able to pick enough rounds for Natasha to win it. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say she won 6 rounds, but she won 5 on my book. But I could have gone the other way with a couple of rounds for Mikaela Mayer. So I understand people feeling that it was 96-94 to Mikaela Mayer, or 97-93 even. It only takes 1 round, doesn't it, or 2 rounds to split the scores in that way. It was a very, very close fight. I don't care what anyone says. Very, very close fight. Some of Natasha's work was pinpoint brilliant in the exchanges. A lot of the aggression and forward nature of the fight came from Mikaela Mayer. On the eye test, I don't at all feel surprised that most people felt that Mikaela won the fight. I don't think it was a robbery, because it was a very, very close fight. And, obviously the judges are swayed by the home crowd, the noise. They are swayed by that. I don't care what anyone says. And I think the huge support there for Natasha Jonas got her over the line in that fight. Because she's such a popular character in the sport, many, many people were behind her on the night. Liverpool fans are very vocal for their home fighters. And then on the prism of social media, yes, it was highly controversial. But in reality, it was a very, very close fight. To recap, Mikaela Mayer won the rounds that she won very clearly, in my view. And there were other rounds that could have gone either way. 95-95 for me. Bottom line, Charlie, I think a rematch should, and I hope will, be on the cards.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Mikaela Mayer came out instantly and said, "I thought I did enough to ring. I thought I did enough to win. I would have given her the first two, but feel like I outpunched her and landed the cleaner shots. I think that fight is worth seeing again. I hope Natasha will be the stand-up champion that she is and give me another shot." Now, obviously, with that, we know that after the fight, Natasha Jonas sort of maybe hinted that this could be her last year in boxing. Um, It's difficult, right? Because you can never, like Mikaela says there, she felt like she outpunched her and landed the cleaner shots, and you can never judge a fight by the stats. But I think all the stats do suggest that that was the case, and that she certainly did outland throughout the portion of the fight. Do you believe we see a rematch?
I don't know. It will come down to how big the fight is financially. I think, and also if Natasha Jonas can get a fight with Katie Taylor, that'll be big. Because if Katie can step up from 140 to 147 to fight Natasha, that would be a fight where she would no doubt take it. I'm trying to think of the other fights there for Natasha, potentially Chantel Cameron, if that's an even bigger fight. Very tough fight again as well. I'm trying to think of the other one that's there for her that could make money. It's probably those two. It all comes down to, I think she has two fights this year. I don't think she intimated. I think she's pretty set on finishing this year. Probably two more fights, you know, and several £100,000 in the locker. You'd imagine she wants to get to finish in the sport and secure her future. I think, you know, there's lots of opportunities for her going forward with the organisation Women in Boxing, with punditry. Wouldn't surprise me to see her working even nationally. I don't know if you're very young to remember when Kelly Holmes won the gold medals in, I think it was in Athens in 2004. Dame Kelly Holmes now, she was part of a massive project nationally to get kids doing athletics. I can imagine Tasha getting behind a project which involves a lot of women coming into the sport and boys and girls coming into the sport. She's got such a great way about her, humility, gracefulness, but also a toughness and a grittiness that people respect immediately. So, you know, and all the things she's done. And let's be honest, I mean, the way that the whole narrative leading into last weekend's fight did really push the case for Natasha as a standout heroine in British sport, and community and society. It was part of the big drive in Talk Sports filming and the narrative arc of the week, in my view.
Just sort of lastly on that topic, Joe Gallagher's made some comments which have sort of had an interesting reception, more in terms of like, well, I'll read them to you now. When you're the challenger in someone's backyard, you've got to rip the title away, and she didn't. I think the controversy is the 97-93 card with Mayer. I won't go into the rest because it's sort of more back and forth, and we don't really need to discuss that. But a lot of people saying that they're a bit fed up of this whole you've got to rip the title away, you've got to rip the title off the challenger talk in boxing, because I suppose, you know, you don't have to do that in other sports. If you win, you win. I suppose boxing is a subjective one, isn't it?
Well, I mean, they talk about some. Remember the Oakland Raiders? Their ground was a fortress in NFL. They were very, very hard to beat there. I think there was a time, I don't know the football clubs, but I'm sure there are football clubs where you go to there, they're impossible to beat. That it's like a fortress. And I think it's just an old saying in boxing, like a good big un beats a good little un. But if the good little un is amazing on the night, they beat a good big un, as we will see if Usyk beats Fury. It's just a saying. I do think home advantage, like I said, it goes back to home advantage for me, and the champion being the champion and acting like the champion. But, you know, I think Joe Gallagher, you know, Natasha's been with him a very long time. I mean, I know Natasha all the way back to 2005, I think. I first knew her and interviewed up her in Liverpool. And she's always been formidable. There's something about her. There's an aura about her. And she does carry herself like the champion. I thought she did on the night. Notwithstanding, that was a very, very tough fight. And on the eye test, as I say, it was Mikaela Mayer's fight on the eye test. If you weren't scoring that fight like that, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, we
as
can.
I did on the night, you know. And most people don't do that, by the way. I don't think when they're sitting there. Mikaela won on the eye test, and also in terms of the damage sustained, it looked like, you know, Mikaela caused most of the damage as well. And also, by the way, she looks big enough to go up to 154 and looks strong there as well. So controversy with Joe. Look, he's defending his fighter there. It's a bit like his criticism of Dave Caldwell. Why was he commentating for Sky? It's just, you know, look, it's antagonism and rivalry. I think Dave Caldwell, to be fair to him, was very strong on. You hear my washing drying over there, can't you? The
No, I
beat's
can't.
going. Okay, you can't. Okay, good. The, Dave gave the fight to Mikaela Mayer clearly, first of all, didn't he, on the night? But he went back and rewatched it and said, you know what? Maybe I was a little bit off, and I think respect him for doing that. Because my belief is when you watch the fight, you watch it once and that's it. Because that's how it's scored by the judges. You watch it live. You either watch it on TV or you watch it in person. Different views, of course, in that way, and different views from the judges. I don't think this was a horribly biased fight. But what I do believe is keep the 2-minute rounds, because I think it keeps it really, really exciting. I think there might be clearer winners with 3-minute rounds in women's boxing, but to jump from 20 to 30 minutes, I think is a big ask. I'd rather go 12,
though. Yeah.
go 12 twos. You and I have spoken about this before. That's my belief. 12 twos. It doesn't need to be the same as men's boxing. If women fight 3-minute rounds, it doesn't mean they're going to earn more. Men that fight 3-minute rounds don't earn, some men don't earn as much as other men who fight 3-minute rounds. So I don't get the argument myself. 12 twos or 10 twos is great. 12 twos, I think, would be even better for world championship fights. But look, Joe's very, very loyal with Natasha, so he's never going to have a bad word said about her. She could be battered black and blue and have won 2 of the rounds, and Joe's still going to believe she's won it, in my view. And good luck to him in that way, because they're a union that will always be there. In fact, I'll probably redress that. If he knew that Natasha lost, he would probably say so, because he's fair enough in that way. But there's no way that there were definitely rounds there you could pick for Natasha over Mikaela Mayer, and at least 5 of them, in my view. I watched it very, very closely, and a lot of her work was very accurate, but it wasn't necessarily, like you say, watch the punch stats. The punch stats don't always tell.
They don't tell the story of the fight. Yeah.
I've told you this before. I have watched a fight before and I've thought someone's won on my eye. And when I go down to my scorecard and I count it in the end, the other person's won.
Yeah.
Because there's an eye test and there's discrete 3-minute rounds. I don't care what anyone says, it's part of the complexity. It's not perfect. It's part of the complexity of boxing and boxing scoring.
Well, moving on, you mentioned a good little, an amazing little one can beat a good big one. Well, let's just sort of firstly circulating on that topic of that fight. Within the last couple of days, we've seen that Jai Opetaia has left the Tyson Fury camp in Riyadh just after 5 amazing rounds boxed, we're hearing. Now, we don't know, to be brutally honest. You might know, hence why I'm asking you now. You may have a bit more clarity on the situation, but me personally, I don't know. There's so much speculation on social media, but if we're being real, none of us truly know. Gareth, do you have any update as to the situation there?
Yeah, I know, but I'm not telling you.
Keep that for your own exclusive, eh?
Cheeky cheesy Charlie Parsons. No. Well, Jai Opetaia has left because he needs to train for Maris Bradis. And Tyson Fury is not the perfect sparring partner for him. I'm trying to think now, is he on the Fury undercard or the Joshua undercard?
On the Fury undercard.
Fury undercard. So he's only got a month to get sorted. Needs to train for Maris Bradis, who is a serious fighter. I do understand they barred 5 great rounds together, but if you're alluding to not saying it, that he knocked Fury down.
No, that's not what I'm alluding to.
Oh, okay, but he didn't.
No.
What are you alluding to then?
I'm not alluding to anything. I'm saying I don't know anything, and I'm saying you may have a better idea than I.
Well, he's left because he needs to train for Maris Bradis. Tyson Fury is not the right sparring partner for Maris Bradis. We know that Moses Tauma's over there. There's a few others. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say them all, but
Kevin
there's
Rayner's over there.
yeah, Kevin Loreno, obviously, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Moses Tauma, Kevin Lorena. I think there's at least 8 sparring partners. Fury, and by the way, I saw Fury at the Joy Awards in Saudi Arabia, and you can tell when his face and his jaw looks long and lean, he's in shape. You can see it. You can definitely see it in his body that he's been training and sparring hard. There's no question about it.
So just on terms of the social media speculation, then obviously, like I say, we don't know anything, but people do talk. People saying that Opetaia maybe knocked down Tyson Fury or something. You're able to say that that's categorically not true?
Well, that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I said that just now, that about being knocking Fury down. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. It's much more likely that Fury knocked Opetaia down.
Okay. Going into that fight now, we're not far away. The first undisputed heavyweight fight in a long, long time. We know that Lennox Lewis is going to be present there. Um, God, it's just so exciting, isn't it? Everything from the build up,
Very.
the posters constantly coming out. We're in such a blessed. I mean, look, the heavyweight division's been incredible to us over the last sort of 10 years or so, longer even, but this just feels like the cherry on the top to it all.
Well, I don't think it has. I think we've needed fights for the last 2 or 3 years that we haven't got, and now we're getting them. I think this is going to be a period that defines the era. I think we'll look back on this era as a very strong era in heavyweight boxing. I think we'll get all the big fights now over the next 18 months, 2 years, and then a new generation will come through. I do love the Wild West posters.
Brilliant.
Fistful of dollars, a few dollars more, a High Plains Drifter, or they're looking like those old Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns from the 70s. Big fan of those, by the way. What did you say your name was? I didn't. You remember all those movies? Have you seen them all with Clint?
Come on, Gareth. Of course I haven't.
Yeah, haven't you?
No, I'm not a big
You've
movie.
got to watch
We're
them. You've
talking
got to
like
watch them.
not a big
Lee
Western
Van
guy.
Cleef and all those guys. Oh man,
But you know what is
man.
cool? I actually spoke to Frank Warren about this on Thursday. Is like they're quite pushing the fun side of this, aren't they? In terms of like, look, it's a build up and fight night and everything's going to be serious. But we know that His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh has referenced, like, for example, Knockout Chaos and them sort of referencing like old arcade games in the posters and stuff. And then you see like the zombie style build up for the Day of Reckoning. They're trying to like utilize sort of obviously for this the posters and everything Western movie inspired. They are really sort of bridging that gap in terms of like the entertainment style. Even Eddie coming out to Here Comes the Money at the Presser, Frank Warren coming out to I'm the Boss, that sort of thing. We're seeing a sort of fun side to this as well.
Yeah, well, that was down to Majestic, the music, by
Yeah,
the way. But the DJ Majestic, who's a very, very good and very close friend of mine and a brilliant DJ. But I think that whole Pong, if you like, and Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and like you say, gaming, the early gaming era. I think the artistic integrity of it is phenomenal because they are really pushing the boat out and looking to be extraordinarily creative. Like you say, it's part of the fun of it. I think that's the thing about His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh is that he's not just a mover and shaker in business terms, but there's an artistry. He's a poet and composer of things. He's involved in in high art as well, and movie making and scripts and all those kind of things. And I mean, Battle of the Baddest docu is just about to come out as well. I've got a sneak preview, and I mean, luckily I'm in it, and I voiced some lines in it, and it's very, very dramatic and artistic. I think that's out very soon. But also, when you look at the things they're creating at the moment, you know, with Anthony Hopkins and Kevin Costner, and I'm trying to think of the other actors that were over at their Joy Awards last weekend. There's a Hollywoodization, or maybe a Riyadhization, if I can put it like that, of the modernism that they want to create. I think it's fascinating. It's culturally fascinating, and as I've said it many times, thankfully, you know, boxing has got part of the centre stage in that. Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury were there in those pictures with all the celebrities from different cultures, weren't they, at the Joy Awards? It's fantastic to see, and you know, it's a gift that boxing and our sport is now part of that. And as you rightly said, it's very exciting with February the 17th approaching, then March the 8th. There's talk of Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev taking place later in the summer, and you know that if Jai Opetaia comes through Maris Bradis again, they want to put the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol in with Opetaia. Tough ask for either of those 275-pound fighters, but you know what? There's an appetite for it. So it's very exciting at the moment. Very, very exciting.
I suppose just on that, there was that handshake that was sort of just thrown at them on stage between Eddie and Frank, and both of them really relishing it. We understand that plans are underway now. We saw, I think Thursday it was, after the press conference that we were at for the Magnificent Seven, Frank Warren afterwards went over to an unknown location in London with Eddie Hearn, with His Excellency. They signed the papers, it's underway. I think March the 8th is the week where we'll find out all the details as to the fighters, but they're doing this 5v5. For years, you know, people wanted cooperation in boxing. We finally got it. I once again, I reiterate, look, this fun side of it. I mean, I know Frank sort of laughed and joked with me, and he said, look, we're going to beat the shit out of Matchroom. They're putting bets up against each other. It's just like, once again, for the fans, I think it was referenced that Turkey enjoyed the social media sort of talk about Frank and Eddie coming together and them being photographed together, and he's acting on it, and we're seeing another big occasion in that.
We are. Do you want a longer answer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Why
yeah.
are
Of
you
course.
not giving me much today, Gareth?
That's not true. We've been going for nearly 30 minutes already.
Have we?
Yeah. Here's it doesn't matter who wins out of Frank and Eddie in that, but it's a fascinating side bet. What is important for me is that we will get Fury against Joshua. We will get Anthony Yard versus Callum Smith. We will get maybe
Nick Ball, Mauricio Lara.
Sorry?
Nick Ball and Mauricio Lara's been spoke about online.
Yeah, but I would even go Nick Ball and let's think Lee Wood.
Yeah.
I know Nick Ball's he's not a big featherweight, but I think he's fighting at feather, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah,
So, but obviously, look, we could get Nick Ball and Lee Wood. I mean, what a cracker that would be, by the way. Moses Italma and Johnny Fisher. There's so many big fights there. Daniel Dubois, I'm trying to think, Daniel Dubois and who else? The thing is, Eddie hasn't got lots of heavyweights at the moment, has he? But anyway, there's loads of possibilities for lots of fights there. Yes, it's a great idea. Someone suggested, Bob Arum and Al Heyman fighters as well, which is another great idea. So, it's all happening in the UK at the moment, but what happens when the American market gets more involved as well?
That's just lastly what I was teeing up. It's almost like you've got my questions here, Gareth.
I was segueing for you deliberately, yes.
Oh, okay.
I
Javon
should have put my nose out of joint saying I wasn't giving you much today.
Javonta Tank Davis, he
Yeah.
put out a tweet saying something about him needing two for. He said he can take this Saudi stuff seriously and he'll speak to them and he's happy to work with them when he wakes up and there's two Ferraris outside his door. Now, a lot of people replied and said, well, I'm sure you can get two Ferraris outside your house quite quickly if that's what it's going to take. Just on your side of stuff, I suppose, obviously, we use that in joking terms, but there was someone who said, I think the tweet originally that Javonta Tank Davis replied to was regarding sort of him and Canelo until we see those stars. But, from your side of stuff, does it feel like a matter of time until they come over?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that was hinted at the press conference. I asked Turkey Al Sheikh, His Excellency the Minister, about what was his take on Oscar de la Hoya saying, I can't bring all my big fighters to Saudi Arabia to fight. And his answer was, well, we'll miss you, Oscar, if you recall. And it was like saying, get involved. And I think he's right to say that because, obviously Tank isn't an Oscar de la Hoya fighter. He's Ryan Garcia is with him, and I could see Ryan Garcia going there. Obviously, that was one of the big fights of last year was Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. Yeah, the two Ferraris is a throwaway line, isn't it? About, if I'm coming there, do I get a big payday? Of course he would get a big payday. He's one of the young stars in America. I mean, at the moment, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, slightly less so. Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, they're all claiming to be the face of boxing in America, aren't they? And you could put them in with Terence Crawford as well. Those guys are probably the face of boxing in America, Americans who are the face of boxing. In fact, I was trying to look at the pound for pound list. All four of those, Beterbiev, Canelo, Inouye, Bivol, that's about the top 10 pound for pound at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Shakur
I,
Stevenson in that mix.
and who?
Shakur Stevenson in that mix.
And Shakur Stevenson. Those 4 or 5 guys those Americans are the face of boxing in America. They're all claiming to be it. It would not surprise me at all to see those big fights. Devin Haney, Javonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, who's obviously with Bob Arum anyway, who's got that relationship with Fury and the Saudi Arabians. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see them fighting in Saudi Arabia. It wouldn't even surprise me if we saw Canelo in Saudi Arabia at some point in the next year. But I do think Canelo against Benavidez in the United States or in Mexico is probably a given over across the pond at the moment because it's so big, that fight.
Well, Gareth, always a pleasure. Thank you for speaking to me. I don't think in the UK, I mean, we've got John Ryder this Saturday, which we're looking forward to. Uh, we don't want to sort of tempt fate, but a lot of fans, I know we said the same with Smith Beterbiev if there was ever a time, but we really give John a good chance going into that one. I think Matchroom have got a show. Lewis Crocker headlining against Jose Felix in Belfast, and then hopefully, obviously, we look forward to February and March in Saudi Arabia, but we can get some other big fights announced, and obviously
Yeah.
Buatsi Aziz, and look, another good year.
Oh, the year started amazingly. It's a very tough fight, in my view, for Ryder against Munguia. 42-0, 33 knockouts. He's climbed through in a very hidden way.
Yeah,
And I think it'll be a big year for Munguia if he beats Ryder. I'm not saying I want Munguia to beat Ryder because I love John. He's a fantastic character. I'm a huge fan of his and what he's done. But I think it's a very tough fight. I've got Munguia winning that on points or even late stoppage. And Dan Aziz and Boatsi, like you say, fantastic fight the week after. I think it's in Wembley, isn't it? I think it's going to be a great fight, but I think Boatsi edges that in my view. But we shall see. February the 3rd, and then it's no, or was that February the 10th? No, February the 3rd, isn't it?
February the 3rd.
And then after that, all roads lead to Riyadh for a month or so.
That it does. Gareth A Davies, as always, thank you for speaking to us at Boxing Social.
We need to think of a new advert for freebets.com.
Get your best betting offers from freebets.com.
Yeah, that'll do.
The following deals are now live.